So I'm going to tell you about 2 live events which I have coming up on the 23rd of Feb in Birmingham. And really quickly, I'm going to tell you my 2 perspectives on overcoming social anxiety, because this ties in with my 2 different events. The first perspective is an outer perspective. And I like the word social fluidity. I like that term. And this is about becoming super competent in social situations, working on social skills, starting conversations, holding them, joining in, following up with people, basically getting all the moves and dynamics nailed. And this can be trained by going to events, doing public speaking. And you can get somebody confident, expressing themselves, and interacting with other people. Then there's an inner approach. And this is about opening up, being vulnerable, having conversations where you can work on your core beliefs, process things that you've been through in the past. And it's about emotions as well. Getting you to feel more secure in yourself and more secure around other people. And if I'm coaching somebody, I focus on both. So I want them to feel more secure in themselves, process stuff from the past, learn from it, and also to have general confidence connecting with people and not feel stuck or limited by a lack of social skills. So the theme of both of the events is sharing your story. Sharing your story is one of the most vulnerable things that you can do. If I'm listening to somebody sharing their story and I'm there in person, I can see the emotions, I can feel them. Because it's vulnerable, it's real. And also, there's just something really fascinating about storytelling. People just love stories. So in the first event, which I'm doing on the 23rd, this is for a smaller number of people. I'm expecting around 5 or 6 people. We're going to be in a private booth in a really nice cafe called the Medicine Bakery. And we're going to take turns sharing our story. And we can share any bit of it which we want. So you can pick a segment. You can go for a longer period of time, whatever's good for you. And when somebody's sharing their story, I'm going to coach them on getting past the fear, feeling those emotions that are coming up, leaning into them, and speaking with real confidence. Getting people past shame, guilt, fear, things which are holding them back from really owning their story. So we're going to go really deep in that first event. The second event, this is going to be a mixture of the depth, the inner work, and a bit of outer work as well. So I'm going to get people to pair up and take turns sharing their story with their partner. And after sharing their story, The partner's going to tell them what impressed them when they were listening to this person's story, which is great for confidence building. Then after taking turns, people are going to share their story with a different person and practice being more passionate, more confident, and just going for it more. And after this, a few people that are feeling especially brave, that want to challenge themselves, they can share their story with the whole group. And the whole group can be anywhere between 20 people and 50 people. So they can do some public speaking. So it makes sense that for me to share some of my story. So I was born in Manchester, Greater Manchester actually, a city that people used to have never heard of, but it's become more popular in recent years, called Salford. So when I was growing up, no one had ever heard of Salford, but they built Media City there and they filmed lots of BBC shows. So it's become a lot nicer and more popular. And I went to a high school called Moorside High School, which was a really rough high school. Lots of drugs, gang culture, not the nicest area. And the school itself was in special measures. And they'd regularly have police officers in the school making sure that everything's safe. And there'd be inspectors coming around all the time to decide if they should lock this place down or keep it open. And back then, as a high school student, I didn't have any self-confidence. And I didn't understand why. I do now, but I didn't at the time. And the habit that I had was isolating myself from all people. So on the first official day of high school, we went to form class before normal lessons. I remember going into my year 7 form class, and everybody was sat in rows next to each other. And rather than sitting next to a guy on the row above, I sat on the row behind just by myself. I chose to be a loner. I chose to not interact with people, not connect, not make friends. I would just push people away. So that's when isolation started. Although, weirdly, compared to that time, I was relatively popular in primary school. So between primary school and the summer holiday, I'd lost all of my confidence. I'd lost all of my ability to speak to people and connect. I didn't know why. And then as high school went on, things got worse. So I developed bright yellow skin, jaundice, had spots. My mum, she joined the school as a teaching assistant, which is never good when you're a kid. You don't want your mum to be at the same school. So I was terrified of dropping down from the higher sets into the lower sets and ending up in the same class as my mum. Wanted to avoid this at all costs. I was already someone who was being picked on a lot and didn't know how to stand up for myself. I didn't want things to spiral lower and lower and lower. I ended up making a couple of friends, and we were basically the 3 misfits of the year. So it was just us. We would just play football with an empty can of Coca-Cola at breaks, and that was pretty much what we did. And avoided people. So high school was a lonely experience, and I didn't understand boundaries with people. Um, didn't know that I could stand up for myself. So I let people say whatever they wanted and just tried to not react. But I was just so closed off. And people would tell me that I had a monotone robotic voice. And there was some truth to that because I was so closed off from my own emotions. I was in shutdown mode, not talking with emotions, just speaking logically. So I did come across like a robot. There was no life and no animation there. So then when I went to college, I went even further down the wrong path. Even further. Um, could I believe it? But I did go further down the wrong path. So one thing that I forgot to say about high school was I even went through a phase of time for a couple of years, maybe even 3 years, where I was borderline mute. And I would honestly say about 1 to 2 words out loud every single day. I was like a mouse. And when I went to college, I took social isolation even further. I'd be there for lessons because I had to be. But then, whenever it was a morning break, lunch break, free lesson, I would just vacate the building and just walk around the local area. I went to this college in Wigan, which was a train ride away from my high school to get away from people from my high school. It was all about avoidance and isolation. So I would just be walking around these nature spots like a park, a forest, local streets, just to have that space and me time. Space where I could just breathe. I could just be myself to some degree, even if that meant just being by myself. I didn't have any understanding of dynamics of people because I hadn't had that social experience. And I now know that part of the challenge um, was that even though I love my parents, they have lots of great qualities. When I was growing up, one of my parents was, quite on the narcissistic end of the spectrum, and my other parent was an energy vampire, and I was caught in the middle of both, with no escape. And I literally had like a box room, which wasn't big enough to have a TV or just a bed. Um, so I was just drained all the time. Zero energy, zero. I basically was like Austin Powers when he lost his mojo. Didn't have any mojo, had all the lifeblood sucked out of me, didn't believe in myself. So I was just highly confused, always processing stuff, never feeling good, always feeling in this low, terrible mood, huge amounts of anxiety back then. So much so that I remember at one point the feelings of tension, the tension in my chest and stomach, my cheeks and the neck as well. I could feel my ribs all the time. They were sore from the tension. And there was so much of that anxiety and tension in my body that I literally went through a phase which I've never heard anybody else say, where I couldn't follow shows on TV because I was too distracted by these physical sensations going off in my body. So they were taking up all of my mental RAM, or so much of it that I had little focus left. And when I was in college, because of even more isolation, my levels of social anxiety were increasing. would you believe it? When you take someone and you think this person couldn't be less confident, yes, they can. So I went further down that isolation path, and I reached my lowest point in life when I was in college. The lowest point was self-harming, which I did for attention and to be seen. So I self-harmed on, I think it was just one occasion. It could have been two, but I think it was just one. I didn't want my parents to see this, so I would have sleeves on all the time. But I did want other people to see it because I wanted just someone to notice me and someone to see that I was struggling and recognize that. I didn't want to feel that I was hiding. So I did self-harming, and then this crazy switch just flipped in my mind. Don't know exactly how it happened, but part of my mind just went, no. There's no way. There's absolutely no way that I'm going to keep going down this wrong path. I know it's the wrong path. This just isn't right. Life isn't supposed to be like this. Things are meant to be different. Unfortunately, at this time, I was in the second year of college, and it was around the time that I was applying to universities. And Birmingham, which is where I am now, was my top choice. So I applied to Birmingham, and I knew that I had to get certain grades to get into the human biology course, which I'd applied for. And I was basically just riding it out, biding my time, just counting down the days, the hours, the minutes until I could get away from my parents' house, move city, and just start afresh. Stop isolating from people and do things completely differently. I managed to miraculously get into my top choice place. Did these resits in A levels. Did hugely better in the resits. Crazily better. So I managed to flip things around, and I got into my top choice university. And as soon as I got there, I was determined to not isolate myself from people. I knew that I had next to no social skills. I'd missed out on years and years and years of experience. I'd missed out on 7 years of normal social experience. So I felt that I had a mountain to climb, lots of catching up to do. But I knew that isolation was the wrong path. So I took inspiration from Will, from the In-Betweeners, who just tagged along to groups until they eventually accepted him. I did quite a lot of that. I thought, I don't care if I annoy people, they're going to be stuck with me, whether they like it or not. I'm going to get the social experience that I need. There's a time in life where you have to be selfish. There's a bad selfish, there's a good selfish too. So I took inspiration from Will tagging along, and also Jim Carrey in Yes Man. And I thought, if I just say yes to every single social opportunity, at least I'm going to get life experience under my belt. And that's what I did. So there I was in nightclubs, never danced for 1 second in my life in the past. I was in pubs, bar crawls, pub quizzes, barbecue socials, wherever social was going on, I was there. Even if I was the quietest person there by a mile, and people might have thought, this guy's a freak, I was there, and I wasn't going away. I'd made my mind up. And the experiences that I got within that year, it helped me out so much. If you met me in the second year of college and then after the first year of university, you would have thought, is this the same person? This guy is so different. And of course, I was still lacking confidence and social skills compared to the average person, but the improvement was huge. And this was without any real quality direction, was without being coached, was without reading the best self-help books out there. It was based on intuition, just knowing what I needed to do for myself. And I had followed various self-help people, influencers on YouTube, and picked up stuff from those people. But just going out there and taking action and immersing myself in socials, being a fresher, really just cracked away quite a lot of that social anxiety. Exposure therapy. And this is why I really like the platform meetup.com. If you don't know, meetup.com allows you to be a fresher as an adult. It allows you to go to different social groups several times a week if you want, and just meet new people. So this is why I do events on Meetup, encourage people to go on Meetup so they can experience the same transformation that I experienced when I became a fresher. And my story, I could go on for 7 hours, probably a whole day, if I really wanted to. There's quite a few interesting and crazy sort of bits, a bit like a movie at times. So after the first year of university, 18 years old, I finished my degree, did a master's, worked in Manchester for 1 year. Then I came back to Birmingham and did a 4-year PhD in pharmacology. And at the same time as doing the PhD, I'd saved up enough money from my year working in Manchester and the stipend of the PhD and living as cheaply as I possibly could. I was able to afford private one-to-one coaching from all those years of saving up. And I basically spent my entire life savings. I spent between 20 and 30K on receiving therapy, if you like, one-to-one coaching every single week for 3 years to overcome social anxiety and just master it. So the PhD was just something I was doing, getting a stipend, getting life experience. But my true purpose was overcoming my social anxiety and building a business to help other people do the same. That's the path that I was really on. The PhD was my last fake life, if you want to call it that. Although it wasn't really fake. I did enjoy parts of it. There was passion there, but it wasn't my deepest passion. It was a stepping stone for me to have that time in my life to get to where I wanted to get to. So because I was paying my life savings and being coached, I was basically all chips in, fully committed. And I got mentorship from a guy that is basically a YouTube celebrity. So his channel on YouTube is Jonathan O'Halloran. And unfortunately, he actually committed suicide back end of last year, which was really sad, quite traumatic to process that. And someone who I gotten to know really well from weekly sessions for 3 years, becoming friends. And also when I overcame my social anxiety, I received one-to-one coaching to learn how to be really good at coaching other people on a one-to-one basis. Because the goal was never just to overcome my social anxiety. That was half of it. The other half was to build a business, helping other people do the same, and just to become the best at what I do. So crazy journey. Then I'd built the business. So basically, during the PhD, I received coaching, and I first built a free business. Did a year of coaching without getting paid, just to get coaching experience. And I got really good at coaching. I started to do events in Birmingham, these coffee socials. And back then, I actually had 3 different groups where I do monthly live events, 2 in Birmingham and 1 in Manchester. So I'd be doing 3 events every single month, loads of free coaching. Then the free coaching turned into paid coaching, and the free events turned into paid events. And now I'm 30 years old, so it's 12 years on from when I moved to Birmingham and was in that position of needing to catch up socially. So from all that experience on a personal level, my own transformation through being coached, various things that have helped me out. I've been a guinea pig trying different stuff, and improv comedy worked wonders for helping me get more confident with people. Public speaking really helped. Getting fit and healthy made a massive difference. Just being honest with people, working on the key relationships in my life, all these different things. I packaged everything into my one-to-one coaching. And for the right people, the value is life-changing. So far, the vast majority of my clients are super happy with the results. And things are getting better all the time. I would say I've probably had about 40 clients who've been super happy with the results, 2 clients that were unhappy, and 2 that were neutral. And you don't get much better than that as a coach. Coaching's always a 2-way street. And if the other person isn't willing to do the work, or you're just not the right coach for that person's needs, then it doesn't work. But that only happens a small percentage of the time. Most of the time, the coach and client work really well together, and it's the 2-way relationship, the crucial conversations, the motivation, accountability, support, the CBT, the exposure therapy, all these things that lead to transformation. It's not about learning a box of tricks to mask social anxiety and appear confident. It's not about learning how to stand with confident body language, learning how to project your voice, how to use hand gestures. It's not about learning these things, appearing confident. It's about actually being confident. You don't need to fool people. And that's the theme of the events, sharing your story. That's where the true confidence is. And when you share your story, you put the emotions out there. You allow other people to judge you. You bring what's in the dark into the light. You own it. And you hear that other people are impressed by some of the things that you've overcome. It feels great. We're all on different journeys in life. We're all different people. And no 2 people are meant to have the exact same journey. So if you're sat there comparing yourself to other people, and you're thinking, how come this person got to be super successful? How come this friend achieved this? How come this friend achieved that? Why can't I do what this person did? You're missing the point. The point is that you're on your journey, and your journey is supposed to be different than other people's journeys. You're meant to be living life, actually doing something unique. If you hear a bunch of different people's stories, sure, there's similarities. Absolutely, there's parallels, there's similarities, there's things you can relate to. There's also unique parts as well. And when you can just own and accept the fact that you are a unique person and your journey is different and it's supposed to be different, it makes you feel more confident. You start to realize that, wait a second, you're a leader in your life. You're not a sheep. You're not following the herd. You're on your path. And if you really want to, you can make some serious power moves in your own life. You can make bold decisions. You can grab your life by the horns and drag yourself into a different direction. You can go from becoming a doctor, doing a PhD, to running a full-time coaching business. With the right tools, the right mentorship, the right help and support, the commitment, the will, the hard work, the consistency, the time, realizing that you got to put the honest hard work in. These things are possible. Not easy, but they're possible. I've done it. And the great thing with coaching from someone like myself is that there's no ego there. I know for a fact that I'm not cut from a different cloth than people that I'm coaching. I know that what I can do, they can do as well. Probably a lot of the people that come down to my events, they probably don't believe just how quiet I used to be. And I've been doing these events for years now. And I mean, in total, I can't count how many people have been to the events. You're probably looking at in total around 300 people, 400 people, something like this. Maybe even 500 if I include the Manchester events as well. So a lot of people, and all of these people have had differing levels of social anxiety. And I can honestly say that of those 500 people with social anxiety going to a group for people with social anxiety, I was more quiet than any person in that room. That's the honest truth. When I was 17, when I was 18, I was more quiet and had less social skills than all of those people. So I've gone through this crazy transformation. I know the people, they may not know that. When you see somebody, you see where they're at now. You don't see the journey they've had to go on to get to this place. But you do when they share their story. That's when you realize. It's easy to stand there and be confident if you've had the perfect upbringing. You was popular in high school and college. You found your purpose in life early on. You got into a great career. It's easier to be confident then. And that's amazing if someone's had a path like that in life. But it can be harder to be confident if you've been through challenges, if you've had times where you felt really, really stuck, or you still feel stuck. Maybe in your story, there's a lot of growth and inspiration and hope, but there's a few areas where you've become stuck. And whatever you do, you just can't seem to get the results you want in one area of life. There's one thing that's holding you back. Maybe it's procrastination. You just can't beat your tendency to procrastinate. Maybe it's relationships. Wherever you try, you just can't seem to find a good partner. You find the wrong people, or you just don't find anybody, and you feel that you're eternally single. Maybe your challenge is that you feel that you don't have the ability to handle toxic people. Maybe your challenge is that you don't have any boundaries and you feel that you can't trust people, they're going to take advantage of you. Maybe your challenge is that you're struggling to make true friends. You're struggling to make it in your career. Normally, there's one challenge that makes someone feel stuck. When you share your story, you often realize that there's times in your life where you were stuck. You were stuck on something different. And at that time, when you were stuck, you probably couldn't see a way out of that situation. Yet you found a way out. Yet you're here now, and that's no longer a struggle. So just because you can't see the solution to a current challenge you have doesn't mean you're not going to find that solution. Just because you feel stuck at the moment doesn't mean that you're going to be forever stuck. And one amazing thing about coming to events, getting around other people, having conversations is it makes you aware of your blind spots. And if you have this lone wolf approach to overcoming social anxiety and growing as a person, which I used to have, you're severely limiting your own progress. There is benefits of a lone wolf approach, because one benefit is that you're not going to get around negative people that would discourage you and drag you down. That is a benefit. But you're also missing out on the positive people that can push you through the challenge that you're currently struggling with. And sometimes people are amazed by what's possible with the right help and support. On a deep down level, maybe you're aware that if you was really at your best, you was fully committed in your life, you was in balance, you was passionate and going for it, with enough hard work over time and being fearless, you could build a life that you really value and enjoy. You could build your dream life. It's just having the courage and the support and the conditions to make that possible. And a lot of people are confused. It sounds like a separate point, but it ties in. A lot of people are confused because societal conditioning can really mess with your mind. What's really important in life? Your experiences, how you're spending your time. That's important. There's a book that I really want to read properly called The 4-Hour Working Week. And the reason that I want to read this book properly is that it's all about not feeling guilty about enjoying quality time. And I'm not suggesting that, you only have to work for 4 hours every single week. But what I do like is the fact that you can have leisure time. And the quality of your time is what really matters. I enjoy coaching. I have a blast doing events. The things that I'm doing are things that I would do for a hobby. If I was a baller, I would do what I do for free. I like a lot of the things that this author says. He talks about a new definition for what wealth is. Wealth isn't about trading your precious time for some money. Wealth is about having a wealth of time, a wealth of personal resources. Time's such a valuable resource. How you're spending your time, what you're doing, how much you're enjoying life is super important. And you're writing your own story all the time. And one great benefit of coming to in-person events and talking about your story and also your challenges and where you're stuck is that you're going to get a lot of different perspectives thrown at you, which can help you get unstuck. It's like a mastermind group. Other people in that room will have been through similar challenges and they can help you out. So just getting into these places and connecting with the right people can make all the difference. So to recap, I have 2 live events in Feb as part of my social anxiety meetup group. If you want to join these events, I'm going to put a link to my meetup group in the description box below this video. The first event, the Deeper Coffee Social, to share your story and get more confident with people. This costs just £5. The second coffee social costs just £3. They're both going to be valuable in different ways. And if you're super committed to changing your life, you've hit that breaking point and realized that mentorship, coaching is a valuable thing that you've not tried and you just want to change your life. Maybe you've never been confident. You've always had social anxiety and you want someone to provide that expert guidance and support and coaching to help you overcome it. Or maybe you've been confident in the past, you've lost it, and you're bouncing back. If you're looking for quality one-to-one coaching, send me an email and we can get on a call. As well as doing structured programs, I also do pay-as-you-go coaching sessions. And the pay-as-you-go sessions can either be over a video call or in person over coffee in Birmingham. So if you've not yet experienced and tapped the value of coaching and you really want to grow as a person, then I strongly encourage anybody to give it a go and see if it works for them. And this is why the pay-as-you-go format is so appealing. And so many people do it because you're not tied into any kind of long-term commitment. And you can see if it's working for you and having the impact that you're looking for before continuing further. So it means that you don't feel trapped in any way. I hope that you got value from this video. And if you know somebody who you think would benefit from checking out my events or receiving my one-to-one coaching, just send them my way and have an awesome rest of your day.